Sun Belt championship game next up. Coastal Carolina, Chanticleers, Troy, Trojans. Again, this is in the home field of the team with the better record, and that, of course, is Troy. They get to host this Sun Belt title game at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Troy, Alabama. Troy, how about this move? Troy opened as low as 4.5, believe it or not, in some spots. Most books, by the time they posted the opening number, it was already up to -7 for Troy, and now it's 10.5 with Troy as home favorites in this game, 48.5 the total in this game. So this line move is twofold. One is the quarterback injury for Coastal Carolina with Grayson McCall. That's number one. Number two is, if anybody saw Jarrett Guest play quarterback last week for Coastal against James Madison, couldn't have been uglier. The offense just couldn't get things going, and the defense just got absolutely just picked apart by James Madison. Todd Centeo and that Duke's offense, they did whatever they wanted against Coastal Carolina, and people see that. People see an offense that was even, and that's concerning. You had basically an extra week to prepare. You're coming off a bye week, and I like Jamie Chadwell as a head coach and an offensive mind. He usually cooks up some kind of good scheme regardless of any situation, personnel, quarterback, or otherwise. This is usually a good enough coach where we can see him get his offense in a position to at least have some level of success, some level of production. And they could not move the football against James Madison. And now you've got to trust this backup quarterback, this offense, which couldn't do anything against James Madison off a bye week with extra time to prepare, against hands down the best defense in the Sun Belt, Troy. That is the issue you've got here in this game. It's hard to envision Coastal moving the ball and putting up a ton of points in this game. Now, can you trust Troy's offense? I trust their defense. Their defense is phenomenal. But can you trust their offense now that they're laying 10.5 in this game? Because that's always been the little bit of a hiccup here with Troy, is that their offense is not explosive. It's not dynamic. It's move the football, matriculate the ball down the field, and put up points that way. Now, the last 2 weeks, we have seen that offense explode on the scoreboard. But again, against two of the worst defenses in the conference. You can't compare UL Monroe and Arkansas State to Coastal does have, prior to last week, that is, a pretty good defense. Now, was that a one-off that they were just ripped apart by James Madison? This is not a bad defensive team, Coastal Carolina. And Troy, while their offense exploded the last 2 weeks, like I said, you can't ask for worse defenses to face in this conference pretty much than UL Monroe and Arkansas State, where they put up 48 against Arkansas State. They put up, obviously, 34 against UL Monroe the last 2 weeks. So that's the biggest hurdle for me is, can you trust this team laying this number with that offense? But you could also say Coastal's defense fell apart against James Madison. If they fell apart in that game, maybe Troy and the last two offensive outbursts we've seen, maybe it's something that can carry over, can replicate itself here in this game against Coastal. It's all going to come down to, can they run the football? Can Vidal be able to run the football extremely well? And Coastal's run defense for the entirety of the year has been the strength of their defense. It's been the secondary where they've struggled. So, again, a run-first offense, statistically it looks like Coastal should be able to hold them in check. But I'm telling you what, when you see what happened last week against James Madison for this Coastal Carolina Chanticleers defense, you have your doubts that they're going to be able to do that, especially when you see, multiple running backs, the three-headed monster, if you will, Agee, Obesi, Palmer, and Black for James Madison combined for almost 200 rushing yards against Coastal. That's not going to get it done against Troy. So now the number's gone. Like, there's no way now I'm laying 10.5 and taking a bad number with Troy. But I don't know if I trust Coastal enough to take them. That was ugly with no McCall on offense and that defense getting ripped apart. And I don't think I can trust them here, even getting this number against, by far, in my opinion, the best team in the conference all season, the Troy Trojans. What do you think here, Conor? Sun Belt title.
Yeah, I think this is just the weight on McCall in this game. I mean, that they were nowhere to be found against James Madison. And James Madison, I thought, would play up for that game with all those seniors at home. But Coastal, it seemed like they scored early there and just nothing. They couldn't move the ball at all. Well, they'll have trouble moving against here at Troy. They've been nothing but money for me all year long. Troy has been. And finally, like these last few games, I was willing to lay it with them. They've been scoring some points because sometimes with this offense, I haven't been crazy about laying points. So if the green light now is McCall. I mean, he's this big, 2-time Sun Belt Player of the Year. To me, he's that offense. As you saw, I couldn't do shit without him. Coastal's defense has got better throughout the year. I think a little bit until they just got ripped apart. Yeah, this one's tough. I don't want to play either of these teams. I like Troy. Now the number's ridiculous, over 10. I still think Troy wins this game. It's just, do you want the points now? If you can get McCall in, can they cover this number? Getting 10 and a half.